Here we go.
Oh, Nick-free episode. I don't get many of these. Oh, they're great.
It feels nice.
They're way better. Yeah, just driving with the
finally
top
let
down.
loose,
No
yeah.
fucking seatbelts.
No.
This episode is made possible by our Thera partners, Dirty B and Pickett, and our first ever Thera paramour, the Dark Lord Jim's Fascia.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. And now broadcasting from the churn,
It's like he's
that's
here.
Jim, that's Whitney, I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
His Nick accent is like,
Oh,
it
it's so
reminds me
funny.
of like FDR North Atlantic.
Yeah.
You know, like old elitism, like the Great Gatsby.
It's so Nick.
That's Nick. Yeah.
I mean,
That's right.
Yeah, Nick's
just described
Iowa
him.
twang
Yeah.
You
is
just look at it, we go, Gatsby.
Gatsby, yeah.
Old Gatsby.
From Iowa.
Fabulous.
That's where I'm
Iowa.
from. It's me,
Yeah.
Nick Tangeman.
The other interpretation of Jacob's impression is Sam the Eagle from the Muppets.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's,
I've
that's
heard this.
deeper, more like chest boy. That's more like
It's not far.
from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Nick Tangeman.
From the
Yeah, not
diaphragm.
by much.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just a little. You're doing a little
Yeah, it's
more
just a little nasal with Nick, and a
It's
little
not
more,
much.
little more chesty with
It's not
Sam the
much.
Eagle.
Which honestly, if you look up Sam the Eagle and then you look
I
up
will
Nick,
right now.
Nick is the human equivalent of Sam
pretty
the
close,
Eagle. It's
yeah.
really fucking close.
Yeah.
Be the judge of that. Let's
It's
see.
very close. Look him up.
Yeah.
Sam the Eagle, and then right.
It's the chicken legs.
Yeah, no, he's got the beak, and he's just got like that brow, and the yeah, that's Nick. Like the forehead.
Oh my gosh.
That's Nick.
Kind of is.
And yeah, no, and like
Well, it's very Nick vibes.
it is.
Today is my favorite day.
The
It
third-
is election day.
It is the American way.
Oh my gosh, election day.
It is election day as we are recording this, but future you knows what happened, and innocent us has no idea. So,
Like, you know all of the unrest. You know all of the riots.
whatever
and
riots
Yeah.
occurred,
all the things.
you know,
We don't even know about those things
the
yet.
No.
horrible truth. You know everything.
Yeah.
But excited to do an abbreviated show today. Absent Nick, who, as you are hearing this, probably is in Paris, I believe. And so, you know, we wish him well. I hope he gets home safely, which I think you will if you don't eat anything. I think that's the trick. Don't drink the water. Don't swim in the river.
Like what?
Don't eat things.
I think Paris is fine, Jim.
I don't
Yeah.
know. They don't
Definitely eat the
pasteurize
food.
things,
You gotta eat
right?
the food.
Isn't that a meaningful thing?
How many things do you need pasteurized?
I don't know. See, I don't even know what that is. I think it means to refrigerate. So,
No,
like,
no,
they're
that's
not
not- that's definitely
refrigerating
not it.
thing. That's dangerous.
It's definitely not what that means.
Drinking right from the cow's teat, man.
The big way you can tell the difference between pasteurization and refrigeration is they are two different words.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah,
a good
and,
hint.
Yeah.
and how they're pronounced.
That's
This
right.
is the trick.
A big
Life
part
hack.
of this.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, as I said earlier, we want to welcome our first ever Thera Paramour. Had to make up a whole new fucking word
Yeah,
for
what
this.
does
know
this
what that
mean?
means.
Guys,
Yeah.
this is the ZJ of the Pod Therapy Patreon menu. If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Great.
Fair, that's
yeah,
fair.
yeah.
Okay.
So the Dark Lord pretty much went for market fucking price.
Aww.
Yeah, and took this thing to a whole new level that just stunned us. Thank you,
Yeah,
the
that's
Dark
amazing,
Lord.
Dark Lord.
You are awesome, and so grateful
I
to have
also
you.
enjoy referring to you as the Dark Lord.
Why
Yeah.
the fuck not? It's great.
I like all of this.
Whose name shall not be said, but is the Dark Lord. So thank you so much. Welcome to the support circle, and we appreciate you very much
My
for however long
YouTube
that lasts.
algorithm has decided recently that I need to watch the Harry Potter movies.
You know,
All
do
right.
it.
For some reason, I'm just getting clips of Harry Potter movies in like.
YouTube's so weird.
Why?
Yeah, my TikTok did that with The Last Samurai. I'm getting just
Tom Cruise movie?
Yes.
Why?
random- I have no fucking
The
clue.
Tom Cruise movie from the 90s.
But you know what? I think that these movies pay TikTok to like get these
Oh.
cuts in there, because then I started looking it up. I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to rent it. Because like I keep seeing clips and I'm
Right.
like, you know
I'm
what?
gonna
It's
rent
been a while. I
I do want to watch
The
that.
other one I'm getting is Lord of War with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm also, again, I'm looking it up. I'm like, well, do I have a subscription that has this?
Yeah.
So like,
No.
I think they figured it out.
I mean, I hate to break it to whoever is running it, but I really don't care about watching the Harry Potter movies.
You know, you say
So
that
you
now.
think you're mentioning
Yeah.
it?
You watch a few dozen more clips and you're going to get the itch.
Yeah, I don't watch them. That's
Have you ever watched them? I mean, sorry. Have you ever watched Harry Potter movies?
I don't think I've seen all of them.
Okay.
I've seen a few of them.
Okay.
You do need to. That is worth it.
During COVID,
I
that
bet
was
it's not.
our binge.
Well,
I mean,
think
I'm
it's-
sure I'll see it at some point. I imagine probably.
It's easier if you're like a Disney household. It's not Disney, but like
I was
if
just
if
gonna
that's
say,
if that's
like
part
a-
of your appetite.
We do like our Disney.
I know.
Do
That's
you?
what I thought.
Yeah, we are suckers for Disney.
Yeah.
We're going to put that to the test today because the trivia that I have designed
Oh, shit.
is Whitney-specific questions that advantage Whitney versus Jacob-specific questions that advantage Jacob. And each round I'm going to do 3 and mix them up so that you each get
It's
3
possible
total.
that we're only going to get the other person's questions.
We're going to see.
Yeah.
We're going to see, but Whitney's
Anytime
are
somebody does
heavily
Jacob-specific questions on any of my shows, they do Jacob-specific questions, I usually miss those questions.
We're going to see. We're going to see. Whitney's are heavily Disney-centric, and Jacob's are heavily whiskey-centric.
I do know a lot
Oh.
about Disney. I probably know more about Disney than I know about whiskey.
I was just
We're
gonna
going to
say,
find out.
know
I
some
may
things.
have
This is gonna
way,
be fun.
I may have way underestimated you on this because it is.
You may have overestimated
I don't want
me
to
on the
say what
whiskey
the
side.
topic is, but it is
Yeah.
Disney
I
focused,
hope so.
and
Like,
yeah,
I know
we're gonna
some
see.
stuff about whiskey. I don't. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
see.
Well,
We'll see. But we got some great questions to kick off today's show. The first one, speaking of whiskey, is about socially acceptable addictions. Hi, y'all. I love
Oh
listening.
yeah, I yelled caffeine last
That's
week.
right,
I
yeah.
almost did this one.
I brought my Red Bull
Caffeine!
today.
Yes, deep. Yeah,
I was
fuck
just
yeah.
finishing a glass of tea in my car.
You know, speaking of caffeine and socially acceptable addictions, we live in Nevada, listeners, and in the West, we have a lot of people that are Latter-day Saints, Mormons.
That's true.
Jesus, they drink a lot of Monster.
Soda.
yeah, 'cause
For some
Monster.
reason,
That's-
that's coffee. But
And
they're
some reason that's
fucking
okay.
into caffeine.
Very confusing.
But like the Monster thing is fairly new
I think it is.
because like they
have
didn't used to be
hit
able to
it.
drink the energy drinks.
To me,
Yeah.
it's like the Rummaspringa thing that happens with the Amish kids where they have
Yeah.
no resilience and then they're all of a sudden told like you can do cocaine and then they all fall off the fucking boat.
But it's also like because Mormonism, I don't know what they're because like they don't like Mormon. They don't like that word anymore.
No.
yeah,
But it's
Latter-day Saints.
Latter-day Saints. So do I just call them the Latter-day Saints?
I
Is
think
that-
so. It's like a
instead
band.
of the Mormons.
It's like the
Yeah.
Who.
Okay.
I think you just do it like that.
So whatever. So those
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
like they're a young religion.
Yeah, ish.
And they still have like they don't still, but they have
have
like
a prophet,
prophets
yeah.
and stuff like on.
They can change the rules.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so like fairly recently they said that black people aren't like biblically inferior.
Yeah, which I want to come out. I'm for that new
You're for them being
interpretation.
biblical. Oh,
I was
okay.
like,
I'm for the
let's
change.
clarify.
I consider myself on the progressive side of Mormonism.
Okay, okay. Great
So
to
like
hear.
they are
Official
they,
stance by
Yeah,
Jen.
I'm for the new profiting.
they,
Yeah,
they like black people more now.
Yeah.
And for some reason like some caffeine is okay.
yeah. Yeah, and I think it's like I think it's coffee's bad, but soda or like Monsters you can get away with.
I don't get it.
I don't know
don't
what the
either.
rules are, but every Mormon I know is just sucking down Monsters.
Oh my gosh,
Like
I
they
did not
are
know this.
pounding that shit. Which
Wow.
I'm impressed that you're
Although-
hitting a Red Bull. That's a big Red Bull too. Like I
This
can only
is
do
a
the.
little.
That's
It's
a
is that the
standard,
tiny
that's a
one?
standard Red
Yeah,
Bull.
I
8
can only
ounces.
do the tiny one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
I usually drink like half.
Okay.
I'm
I
about
don't
halfway
like any
down.
of them.
Oh, then you
I
pour
love
some
Red
out
Bull.
for the
I hate
homies. You
I
won't
hate
do
'em.
any energy
No.
drinks?
I just hate them.
Are you a coffee guy though?
I'll drink coffee and tea. I mean, I'll drink an energy drink if
If
like
that's what's required.
if I just have to.
If you have to do a bump to get through the night.
I bet I drink less than one energy drink a year.
I'm with you on that. Well,
Yeah.
no, I'm not because I will drink Red Bulls, but only when we record. It's only like
That's
no,
what
I
I
love
was
that
going to say.
recording
I was
thing.
like, I probably drink one once a year until I started this
yeah.
podcast.
Well, you need to
be
grow up
honest,
and
so.
do lines in the bathroom like an adult.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know y'all were doing that
Yeah.
before.
What the
Keeps me
fuck do you
up.
think pod therapy is? It's an excuse to do lines in the bathroom.
Yep.
We haven't
Well,
even published any episodes for 3
Nobody
years.
told me.
The whole thing is just an excuse. All right.
Speaking
Anyway.
of lines in the bathroom,
Socially
socially
acceptable.
acceptable addictions.
Hi, all. I love listening to your show every week. Y'all are a vast reservoir.
Buckle up for this one.
Yeah, a vast reservoir of knowledge and frequently surprise me with your level-headed, useful advice, even on the most difficult of questions. Anyway, here's my
I don't
question.
usually have the. I have the script today because Nick isn't here.
Yeah.
So I don't usually see that people also spell the words.
How
was
I
hoping
say
you
them.
didn't have the script
Yeah.
because
Our listeners
yeah,
are
I want
just
you to hear it.
assholes.
No.
All of them are
They're
assholes.
wonderful people.
No, horrible.
Clearly.
For the past 2 years or so, I've been struggling with an unidentifiable sleep disorder. Sleep has never been the slightest problem for me, but now I can't get through a single night without multiple wakings. I've tried many on- and off-label medications, the classic recommendations such as changing pillows or controlling the temperature of the room, and CBT for insomnia, also called CBTI. Part of this problem has been discovered to be sleep apnea, which I'm now successfully treating with a CPAP.
Oh, good.
But there is still a large unknown factor. I suspect it to be a case of long COVID, as I developed all this immediately after recovering from a case of COVID that was otherwise mild. I find that on many days, the only way I'm able to reasonably function is with the help of caffeine. I only use it in the morning so as not to interfere with my sleep, and I'm carefully looking out for correlations between my caffeine intake and sleep quality, but nonetheless, it feels like an addiction. It's a struggle to go without it. My tolerance gets higher the more I use it. I get very intense cravings, and sometimes I even experience withdrawals. It's occurred to me that this is one of the few socially acceptable addictions in our society. So what are your thoughts on caffeine addiction, especially coming from a substance use background? Oh, good, Nick's not here.
I know.
Is it ignored? Don't worry, I'll pitch
Dang
in.
it.
Is it
Jacob will
ignored
step
more
up.
often? Yeah, trust me, substance use background. You're talking about Jacob Smith. It is ignored.
Background.
Foreground and future and present. Did bumps in the bathroom on the way here. How does
I'm awake.
self-medication with caffeine differ from that of alcohol or marijuana? What are some things that I can do to ensure it remains in the functional rather than dysfunctional realm? For context, I'm a 27-year-old male. My pronouns are he and him. Thank you.
Woo.
Coffee addiction.
If you think caffeine addiction is just fine in society, which it is, I've got really bad news for you about sugar.
Yeah.
Oh my
fucking A.
Especially in the U.S.
Oh.
Like, we put sugar in everything.
Yes.
You eat so much sugar on a daily basis in the U.S. without knowing it.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
that's
yeah.
so true.
And like,
That's
and if
so
you
true.
and if you think getting off caffeine is bad, getting off sugar is terrible.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
my
it's
gosh.
brutal. Like,
Oh,
we are
yeah.
all. I think it's safe to say that virtually everyone in the U.S.
Is addicted to
to
it.
some degree addicted to sugar.
It's literally the reason we have dentistry. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, cavities
Yes.
exist because
Because of
this.
sugar,
That's
yes.
crazy.
Remember a couple of years ago when France wouldn't let Subway call their bread bread
Because it had too
was too
much
much sugar?
sugar.
They made them call it cake.
It was pastries.
Yeah.
No, it's not
Pastries
fucking
for
bread.
your
And the
panini.
U.S. was like, wait, what?
What? How much is?
what are y'all talking
there's
about over
sugar
there?
in the bread?
Right.
France was like, yes, you idiots.
Yes.
They're like,
It's
no.
literally cake.
It's like Hawaiian rolls.
Exactly.
Oh, so we're tonight for election night. We're doing pulled barbecue pork sliders.
Okay.
On the little Hawaiian rolls with some coleslaw on top.
Oh, very nice.
Yum.
I'm not a fan of the Hawaiian rolls.
They're
I
too
don't.
sweet.
They are too sweet.
Yeah.
But it's hard to find other rolls.
Yeah, a little pre-cut roll.
Yeah.
You gotta have the right something on there. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
You gotta
Like, you
cut
can
down
do
on
you
it.
can do the sliders, but then you have to be careful with the spices and everything. and
The barbecue
and the
sauce
barbecue
can't be too
sauce.
sweet.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, you got to get like a
Everything is sugar.
vinegar-based barbecue sauce.
Well, that's another thing that's just loaded with sugar that I didn't know about.
All
is
the
all the
sauces.
sauces.
Oh, yeah.
Barbecue sauce, ketchup,
Ketchup.
fucking everything.
Pasta sauce.
Pasta.
Oh, yeah.
You get fucking like Prego or whatever brand of pasta sauce. I know I'm pulling a brand from the 90s right now from
Prego.
ads in the
Prego.
90s. But yeah, like whatever brand of pasta sauce. Like, that's got sugar in it.
Yeah. No. Anyway, writer, thanks for writing in. Good luck.
I make southern
all addicted,
southern style
so-
sweet tea that I keep in my house all the time.
with just a block of fucking
Well,
sugar.
this is it. It is. I have looked at the amount of sugar that I put in, and I put a lot of sugar into a big gallon pitcher of sweet tea that I then keep in the fridge.
Yeah.
And I have looked at the amount of sugar that's in like the bottles of sweet tea that you can buy in the gas stations and
like
stuff.
Peak or whatever.
And I'm putting like a third.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not. It's less than half. I'm putting like a third of the
That's
sugar,
crazy.
and I still think it's pretty sweet.
I saw this TikTok where they were showing with little cubes what the average American eats in sugar every day.
Oh, it's bad.
I was shocked. Like, it was a mountain of sugar. And I'm like, how in the fuck is this?
Like, this is
in
one of those things that I
everything?
don't know for sure, but I feel like it must be true somewhere. Is that like there must be some bottled water somewhere that just has sugar in it?
That makes sense.
Like
Gatorade.
yes, Gatorade's got sugar in it for sure.
Yeah, every Coke product.
Oh
I
my
think you're not
gosh.
far off. Coffee. So, okay. Every morning, I am 3 to 5 cups of coffee.
oh my god.
That's a
Without-
lot of coffee.
Is it though? Okay, but they're not the big honkin' mugs. I like a
It's
nice,
like a regular coffee mug.
I like the small mug. You know, a lot of people get them big old, like 12-ounce ones. I'm about the 8 because I don't want it to get cold.
Yeah,
I don't
that's fair.
because I'm not like gulping it.
But it's
So
they're
3 to
like normal coffee mug size. Though.
Yeah, and I'm drinking coffee from about 5 a.m.
Like this.
to yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the Pod Therapy mug.
Coffee
There
mug.
you
Yeah,
go.
I've got my
Go to-
Pod Therapy coffee mug. My therapist knows about you, is what my
There you
is
go.
what my mug says.
PodTherapyBaitShop.com. It's been a while since we promoted the merch.
Yeah.
I'm drinking coffee from 5 a.m. to about noon. And then if I'm
okay.
at UNLV, well, no, that's not true. I'm drinking coffee nonstop from 5 to noon. After that, a couple hours in, about 2, 3 o'clock, if I have some free time, I'm going to Starbucks and getting one more iced coffee.
And how much of that is habit, and how much of that is need for caffeine?
See, I don't know because
See,
I've
look at
never
me steering
tried
it back
to
to the
stop.
question a little bit. You
I've
like
never
that?
tried to stop. So now I don't have to find out. Am I addicted to heroin? I don't know. I'm just going to keep using heroin.
Yeah.
It's
And
socially
we'll never have to
acceptable,
find out.
so-
It's fine. Yeah. Don't
Right.
worry about it. You're reading into it.
Oh my
You're in
gosh.
denial. Shut
Yeah.
up.
Are you a daily coffee drinker, Jacob?
No, but I'm almost everyday tea.
Okay.
I drink a good bit of tea.
Is this far off from coffee?
No.
Is there,
Caffeine wise, no.
It's pretty similar?
Yeah, I think so.
What's your tea?
Yeah, what kind of tea are you drinking?
I just make like a-
green tea or breakfast tea or
Earl Grey?
It depends. It depends on if I want it hot or cold. Like I have a nice English breakfast blend,
that's a fun
or a nice
fun
Earl
time.
Grey that I'll do if I want a hot tea.
What
and
are
then-
you throwing in the
That's
tea?
what I was gonna ask. What are you putting in your coffee?
What's,
Are yours black?
me? Oh, cream.
Oh, in the tea,
I gotta have
I either
that
do
half
it
and half.
straight, or I'll do a little bit of honey.
Okay. Just
Well,
honey.
just a touch of honey.
You're not
It doesn't
putting
need
any
much.
milk in your tea.
No.
See, I gotta have
SJ
the
likes
half and half.
SJ likes the milk.
I'm
She does the
big,
milk
and I
in her
put
tea.
too much half in it. My wife gets pissed because, like, I like my coffee light.
Yeah.
I take my coffee like my women, without another man's
a cup.
dick in it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ground up and in the freezer. Yeah, but no, like light, sweet. I do the liquid stevia.
Oh,
And
yeah.
So I'll do a squirt of that, and then I'm putting in probably 15% of the mug is probably going to be half and half.
Okay.
So it's the bottom layer there, and then I'm pouring
Although
in
when
the
I was in
coffee
New Orleans,
after.
I did have a nice cafe au lait, which
What
is a lot of
that?
cream.
Oh, it's a creamy coffee.
Yeah. It's
You
like
know what?
half and half.
I'm going to start telling people that's what I drink. I'm going to just
Cafe
tell them I have
au lait.
cafe au lait, and I'm
Yeah.
going to let them
Get you some
Google
They're
it.
gonna be like
Nice,
oil of Olay.
Yeah.
Get you some nice chicory, some chicory infused coffee.
No tears.
No tears.
Yeah.
That's how I like my coffee.
Down the
Without
rabbit
tears
hole.
in it.
Yeah, you get the coffee
little
with
fish
chicory in
container.
it, and then fill that about halfway up with cream, and it's real
Ooh,
fucking good.
I like
Oh
me some
my.
cream. How do you take your coffee? Or what are you in the mornings? Are you coffee, tea?
1 cup of coffee out of habit.
Yeah.
Jacob is spot on for me because I literally do not feel a difference
What time do
between
you wake up?
at 7:30.
And you're hitting 1 cup of coffee.
1 cup
And just for the flavor.
and
By the way, I noticed that you two guys both went to bed really late last night. You were texting me at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Presumably had not gone to bed yet.
That's not how most people operate.
I know. I was like,
No?
I'll wait for
No,
Jacob
that's
to
not
respond
normal.
way
Yeah.
later. I was like, I'm not going to check that
That
for
is
a while.
Las Vegas performer math.
You notice I
Ladies and
responded at
gentlemen.
9, though.
I was impressed. I was like, oh,
I was
okay.
up today.
Whoa.
Jacob's
I had shit to
going.
do today.
He's getting the
Okay.
McMuffin.
I was leaving home. I hadn't been back home yet.
Oh,
Oh
my
my.
god!
Yeah, I've been out and about.
Look at you.
Jesus Christ.
No, I'm a 1 cup. Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
need it. It's just habit. It feels good and cozy in the morning. Like
Okay.
I
It's
just
the
like
vibe.
having. It's a vibe. Yeah.
yeah.
I like
Is
the
Peter
smell
a
of
coffee
it.
person?
Yes, he will have like 2 espressos, and then
Oh,
he'll
okay.
have like maybe a third one later. Like he.
All right.
We do have an espresso machine at the show, so I'll occasionally have an espresso at the show now.
That's nice.
We also have a coffee stand at the
Okay.
show where
Yeah.
we sell coffee.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
you have
I'll
the
get a coffee
store.
there every so often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get that little pick me up. That's
Yeah.
See, if I'm not drinking water, I'm drinking coffee.
Huh.
But I don't like any other beverages.
Oh, okay.
I don't like
Okay.
anything.
I
don't
do
want
drink a
soda.
lot
But
of
the
water.
cream is in all of those coffees, or
And
the
the
half
water.
and half, and,
I just-
and the sugars in the water.
I'm just Ron Burgundy, fucking
Yeah.
carry around a 2-liter, just sipping right from the fucking carton.
So I've got a couple of thoughts on
yeah.
Anonymous here.
Hit it.
And so one is, it sounds like we got 2 different things. We got a sleeping issue,
Yes.
Yeah.
and then we have the caffeine thing.
Yeah.
And the sleeping issue, I feel like that needs to get fixed
Yeah. ASAP. That's so tough.
faster.
Yeah.
And like, go to the doctor. Go see your general
Well,
practitioner.
they're doing so many right things. You know,
Right.
I like that the medicines, I like the sleep apnea, And we
but
don't
they're
get
just
enough.
but they're just trying different over-the-counter things right now.
I think they are. Yeah. So it might
what
be
they say,
time
yeah.
to kick that up a notch.
That's what I'm saying. Go to the doctor
Yeah,
and
yeah.
see about getting like a real sleep aid.
Yeah.
A lot of them now are not habit forming.
That's true.
You don't have to be concerned about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, go and maybe get a sleep study done.
Which I think they would have had to do for the apnea.
Well, they
Usually to
didn't-
get that CPAP,
Oh,
you
to
gotta
get the
do a
CPAP, maybe.
sleep study.
Maybe, yeah. So if you haven't done a sleep study, maybe see if you can get a sleep study done.
I like that.
And they're a pain in the ass to do, but then
Yeah.
after you've done them, you've done them.
Okay.
and it's over and done with.
I think it's weird
usually.
that we still have to do that because we have like Apple Watches that are like monitoring everything about
I'm sure,
your life.
I'm sure that there's. Oh, no, there are take-home sleep studies.
Oh, are
as
there?
well, where you can just like hook the sensors up to yourself and then go to bed.
I assumed it
damn.
was you bring the doctor home with you. And
I mean, always an option.
they're
He's
just
watching
laying
you all
with an
night.
arm on their head, just watching you all
Yeah, yeah.
night, just
Studying
drawing
you.
I do that
Studying
for
you.
fun sometimes, just volunteer.
Yeah.
Just show up. Do you need a sleep watcher? 'Cause,
Yeah,
you know,
I can do it.
I'm up late. I listen to podcasts.
I'm up till 7 a.m. texting.
Yeah, that's also a good way to help you fall asleep, writers. Just go watch other people sleep.
Yeah, I think
That's
definitely
really
try
helpful.
that. I've had sleep issues in the past, and there are a couple of different things that I've taken over the years and everything.
Harder meds?
And some harder meds,
Yeah.
some. I have one right now that's a marijuana-based pill,
Okay.
without the THC in it. And I'm not being cagey about it. I don't remember what it is.
CBD,
It's
some version of that.
something in that neighborhood,
Hemp.
and that seems to work. It's just straight hemp.
Yeah.
I just chew on it.
It's just like
chew on a piece of
grass.
rope,
Wow.
and it puts me right out.
Real earthy.
But for me, I just have to get back into the rhythm of it. So
Okay.
like I'll need something every now and then to kind of kickstart my rhythm back into it.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of okay again for a while.
Well, I agree with you because if this is a long COVID thing, which
Yeah.
I've heard some similar symptoms from folks, you're probably right that you're going to have to see a psychiatrist at some point, and they might have to start reaching for things like trazodone or
That's
hydroxyzine.
what I thought about was
Yeah.
trazodone. Because it's like
Yeah.
non-addictive, right?
Trazodone, yeah, nobody's taking trazodone for fun. Nobody's taking hydroxyzine for fun.
Yeah.
Or if they get up there to like an antipsychotic, I could see that too because a lot of
Right.
times those are off-labeled. Or Ambien. Ambien can be habit forming. Yeah,
Like, don't do Ambien.
it's on the list. I mean, your
Right.
psychiatrist might want to do that. I really appreciate the writer talking about CBTI.
Yeah, that's
It doesn't
interesting.
come
I don't
up
know a lot about it.
So this is an area I've been learning a lot about
Okay.
because it turns out the UNLV clinic has a lot of specialists in it.
Oh.
And so that's been really neat. And a lot of the students get advanced training in it and they
That's
do
cool.
like a whole protocol for it.
Okay.
And so then I started, taking the extra work and like trying to learn about it and reading the manuals. Very impressive
Oh,
what
very
CBTI can do. And it really has to do with breaking down the habit. You'd think it has a lot to do with like perspective. And it does, but a lot of it's behavioral activation and like helping your body get into the right ritualed state, a lot of self-analysis. But it's a very evidence-based practice. So the writer bringing up like, hey, I've even tried this the psychological way, not hitting any ground.
Yeah.
I think the best suggestion on sleep is probably Jacob's. But what do we think about this idea of caffeine, maybe dependence?
I know, and they're experiencing withdrawal.
Well, you're ticking all the boxes. And we don't talk about it enough, but in the DSM-5, that is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, caffeine dependence is a disorder that it can exist. Caffeine withdrawal is a disorder. And if you look it up, you'll see that the actual like criteria are pretty pronounced. Like people
Yeah.
notice the difference.
oh yeah.
What are your thoughts coming from that like addiction background? I mean,
Yeah.
like, because in theory, it's like a problem if it's disrupting your life or
Right.
whatnot. So maybe if the withdrawal symptoms are disrupting your life, anonymous.
Well, and the
then-
writer brings up the right word, functional,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, we joke about functional alcoholism, and that's probably not the gold star you're aiming for. But functional caffeine dependence is American, you know? Like, this is the American way. Yeah, says
Or
Sam the Eagle.
honestly, even being in Italy, I thought this was really interesting that espresso, which I believe has less caffeine than a regular brewed cup of coffee,
does it? Okay.
which is kind of a misnomer, I feel like, in the
Yeah,
US.
I would think it's the shot.
But very often we'd jump into like a little cafe to, I wouldn't get an espresso, but like Peter would.
Mm-hmm.
And you would see workers in their little like reflective vests. They just go up and get their little
Oh,
shot of
get a
espresso
little
and then
hit.
they leave. And it's like all throughout the day. So, I mean, yeah, we kind of joke that that's very American. The like cups of coffee are like a big mug of coffee,
Right.
but really those little espressos just 2, 3 p.m. all throughout the afternoon.
And
They're
like the European
hitting it.
thing, they hate pour over coffee, right?
Yeah.
Like their thing is like, it's a French press. or it's an espresso. They don't do pour over coffee in
like
not
just
America,
regular
right?
cups of coffee, like brewed cups. You don't see that.
Yeah.
You might get an Americano, which is just an espresso with water to dilute it.
Okay. See, now I'm really curious about the amount of caffeine in a shot of espresso because I feel like it is higher. But then it's so concentrated. I don't know. But I mean, Ryder, you're knocking on the right door. So like, one, I want to speak to the science of this. Yes, caffeine dependence is a thing. Yes, the title of your letter is a great way to frame this, that functionally we have substances that American society just accepts that we run on it.
ADHD medication.
Well, ADHD sugar was a big one.
Oh, yeah.
If you just tried to cut sugar out of your life, you would probably go through withdrawals.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you would have such craving, such hunger pang, even though you're full, you're sated, but like your body looks for the sugar. And it's a big, big part. And so like caffeine is absolutely one of those things that's like functionally okay. We joke about it. We've normalized it. And there's a lot of strong arguments out there that caffeine is not great for your health. But to me, the big thing that I'm looking to is this dysfunction. And what I'm seeing in this letter, though, I'm seeing the writer say, look, I'm being careful not to be hitting that caffeine later and later. I'm trying not to allow that to tip the scales with my sleep disorder. So I'm just finding that I am dependent on it, but I am finding that my tolerance is increasing. I'm experiencing cravings, and that when I'm not getting enough of it, I'm experiencing withdrawal. And there are withdrawal symptoms to caffeine, and obviously tiredness is one that most people think of, but irritability is one, restlessness is one. Headaches can be a big one.
Some people get the shakes.
The shakes. I've had some people getting, they see spots. It's not a hallucination. It just has to do with like their retinas, but like they're seeing blue and like all sorts of stuff. So, I mean, there can be disorientation, dizziness. So this absolutely can be a thing. And I think if you're looking at that, the classic advice on this is going to be weaning, you know, because, I mean, we're going to want you to start weaning down because your body will adapt. Like, if you become dependent on the caffeine, what's fundamentally happening, and not to get too into the science of like how ADP works and shit, but essentially what caffeine is doing is it's binding with certain phosphate receptors that are essentially blocking the biochemicals that signal tiredness. So those chemicals ultimately build up in your system anyway. They don't dissolve. Caffeine doesn't make them go away. And contrary to popular belief, caffeine doesn't technically lift you as much as it's blocking the receptor for tiredness. So then eventually the half-life of the caffeine is exceeded. It wears away. It no longer blocks the receptor. And then you do get those tired biochemical signals that attach to your brain. And now that's the crash, right? That's when you suddenly feel it all at once. So in theory, if you're weaning yourself away, what you're doing is you're allowing more of those receptors to touch those biochemicals that naturally form. And then slowly over time, you're going to be decreasing that sense of withdrawal, and you're going to learn to tolerate those receptors more, which, I mean, that more natural state is good for you in the end. And I've gone through times where I've just detoxed off of coffee completely.
Yeah, if you have like days maybe on the weekend or where you have, you know, I don't know, you're on vacation, you take some time off, use that time to try and reduce.
Absolutely. You know. Or even switching to like decaf for a while, because the habit is a big part of it. Like for me, I need that hot cup. Like it has to happen.
I know.
If I don't have that, it's weird.
It's the vibe.
It is the vibe.
Such a thing.
Are you okay if you have a cup of coffee and Peter pours himself a cup of tea? Is that okay? Or does that bother you?
Why would it bother me?
It bothers me.
Why?
Because it's
it bothers
a vibe.
you that Peter drinks tea?
Yeah, I'm not okay with it. Tell Peter I'm not okay with it.
I will let him know because he is a big tea drinker too.
Yeah, actually,
He'll drink
don't
all
say
the
that.
things.
He's kind of buff. Let's just get along. I think Peter and I need to have a great policy of like, hey, we can be friendly. I'm not here to annoy you.
But he loads that when he makes tea, I'll be like, make me a cup, but I have to put my own amount of honey in it because he will put so much. I'm like, that's just sugar water.
Yeah,
like, go away.
Do you put a splash of milk in your tea?
If it's breakfast tea, I will. I love that. That's a whole vibe too. It just takes me back to traveling and like, you know, the first time I experienced that. But other teas, no.
Otherwise, I'm not doing any of these. God. No, it's got no.
That's fine. Nobody's mad at you about the fucking cream, Joe.
God, Jim.
You keep defending the cream. Nobody's mad at you about the cream.
Look,
drink the cream.
I want it to be known I'm strongly coming out on Team Dairy.
Fine.
Okay?
Dairy messes with my stomach a bit, so I don't really.
Early doesn't.
It tastes delicious. It does.
Yeah,
like Jacob's
good.
Coffee,
My
Olay,
parents
or
were
whatever.
killed by dairy.
I know what Big Dairy doesn't
They were
want
run
you to
over by a
know.
milk truck.
Anyway, Ryder, this is a very relatable thing. Yes, caffeine
Good
addiction
question.
is a thing. I really like the idea of decreasing it, though, especially if we're going to be talking to a psychiatrist and we're going to start getting meds in there.
Yeah.
The fewer biochemicals that can mess with this. So one of the things, if Nick were here, here's one of the things Nick would say.
What would he say? Get a
I'm not
treatment
going to do
plan?
the Nick impersonation. I'm
like,
not
get a
as
treatment
gifted.
plan.
Yeah, right. It's always a fucking treatment plan with Nick.
Work out, go to the gym. Play some golf.
Do some push-ups, bitch. So like one of the things that Nick and
Date a Nazi.
Yeah, that's always the answer. When Nick and I ran a halfway house that had everybody there had severe mental illness, they were all medicated. And a lot of them were on various kinds of sleep aids as well, because little known fact, whenever you blow out a bunch of your dopamine receptors with different kinds of drugs, sleep is usually a problem. So one of the things that we would often struggle with, though, is our patients would just load up on Monster energy drinks, and they were just constantly hitting this stuff. And the taurine and the guaiacosine and all that other bullshit that's in there, it would fuck up their psych meds a lot of the time.
Interesting.
So Ryder's talking about kind of standard issue coffee, but what a lot of people don't realize is that, heavy doses of caffeine can fuck up your psych meds. And so when you do talk to that psychiatrist at Jacob's recommendation to kind of talk about some items on the top shelf that will help, you are going to want to get this caffeine work way down.
I hope that helps. And get the sleep studies, do all that kind of stuff with the doctors, and work back on the caffeine. And I think those two things will help each other out.
Yeah.
That's gonna be great for you. I believe it. Yeah, you can do this.
You'll find your way.
This is all doable stuff.
Yep.
We're going to go into a break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about atheists teaching at a Catholic school. For full disclosure, we've already done this quiz once, so Jim just came up with different questions.
Yeah.
Because the recording fucked up. But you're listening to
Whitney won
PodTherapy.
the last one.
Today's episode is brought to you by TheraProducers, and here are some of them. Thank you to Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Myra, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, and Malia for now. If you'd like to sponsor the show, go to patreon.com/therapy.
Yeah.
All right. So we tried to do trivia, but we had some tech issues. What we learned in that first iteration was that my Whitney-based questions, which were lyrics from Disney movies, we gave Jacob the chance to answer them first, and he dunked. He just
aced it.
missed none.
All of them.
So in order to stop him from doing that again, I have now changed the questions, and now we have other alterations of Disney-based questions.
Now it's just questions about Whitney's neighborhood.
That's right.
We're going to get some fucking Whitney questions.
We're trying to help her.
Yeah.
All right,
Whitney,
multiple
in your
choice.
backyard, there is a chair.
Oh, shit.
What color? All right, so these are multiple choice Disney-based questions.
All
and
right.
The first one is, which Disney character famously says, "to infinity and beyond"?
Buzz. Lightyear.
Literally.
Takes the two.
Nice.
All right. What is the name of the kingdom where the movie Frozen takes place?
Ice World.
That's solid.
Hoth. The ice planet.
Should have called it Kolf
from Star Wars.
Would you like the options?
Sure.
Yeah.
Option A, Atlantica. Option B, Arendelle. Option C, Corona. Or option D, Agrabah.
I know it.
I do too.
What is it?
1, 2, 3.
Arendelle.
Whatever the one that was B.
We're going with Arendelle. Final answers. And yes, that is correct.
Woo.
We got a tie game. Last question for the Whitney round. In The Lion King, what is the name of Simba's father's assistant?
Ooh.
Oh man, I've got two different names in my head. They're basically the same, but okay. I do have a guess.
Okay, this is for Simba's father's assistant.
So Simba's father's assistant. We keep having technical issues. We're sorry. We're whatever.
Is what it is.
It's the bird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
he's throwing it.
His name, Zazu.
Oh, wow. That.
All right. Is that your final answer?
I'm going to go with Zazu, and I'm going to hope that's one of the options.
Okay. Do you want options, Whitney, or are you going in blind?
No, I think he's right.
Okay.
It is Zazu.
Yeah. He's right.
It is Zazu. I
wouldn't have pulled that out of my brain, though, so I'm impressed, Jacob.
Just crushing.
I'm like,
this
Iago.
Shit. Oh, yeah. That should have been
parrot.
it. Should have just been like birds.
I know,
like
birds. All the birds from
Disney.
Disney.
Yeah,
I'm impressed with that one, Jacob.
Godfrey. Yeah.
I know.
I underestimated Jacob.
Wow,
do so at your own peril.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Give me psychology tests and Disney trivia.
Jacob's like,
you don't think he's going to do those.
You know what? Ever since he had that PhD, he's really upped his gym game.
Now.
He's got all my gym powers.
Yeah, he
does.
That's
he's
right.
He knows Disney
them.
shit. Yeah, that's right. Just it's like Highlander.
So after the Whitney round, tie game.
Wow. Very impressive. All right, next and probably final question. Atheists teaching at a Catholic school. Dear Pod Therapy friends, I've been a supply/daily occasional teacher for over 5 years in different public boards, with a couple of long-term stints in special education. My search for a stable teaching job has pushed me to teach in a Catholic school board, and my intake paperwork required me to confirm that I would adhere to the teachings of the church. I took up this new chapter in my life thinking that I could get by just teaching the students to be good citizens and focus on the good aspects of the Catholic Church's teachings.
So sweet.
Yeah. I'm not trying to convert my students one way or the other.
I grew up around a lot of Catholic churches in Louisiana and a lot of Catholic schools, and that ain't how they work.
As there are also a few non-Catholic students in the school. In September, my duties expanded into teaching religion to elementary students around 10 to 11 years old.
Well, now that's just a bad practice on their part.
Seems like a terrible idea. During one of our class discussions, I found myself writing on the board messages like, if you don't know God, you don't know love. This was an idea expressed by one of my students. I was writing it down to ensure proper spelling and punctuation so that the students could copy this on their worksheets. Last week, we started studying select passages from the Bible. Sadly, not Ezekiel 25:17. Pause for Samuel L. Jackson impersonation.
Hey, what's that?
Shall know my name is the Lord,
and I reach forth and smite you.
I knew y'all would know that.
Hell yeah. It's the one that says bad motherfucker. Contributing to this becoming an Italian air show, now my wife, who's also a seasoned teacher in the public board, is converting to Catholicism.
Oh my!
Because the Catholic schools have many more resources available, like the number of photocopies, class supplies, budget for field trips, and guest speakers. I've started going to church on Sundays as I need a letter from the priest as a pastoral reference.
Oh,
shit.
Did I mention that I'm my wife's mentor during her conversion?
What is going on? How did we get here?
This is bizarre.
Catholicism, your background check process is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, for this reason alone, and
wild.
no other that I can think of. Are there any resources?
This and the altar boys. Those are the two issues.
What about the altar boys?
Are there any resources on...
Oh, Whitney, I've got bad news.
I got terrible news. Are there any resources on how to reconcile this double life that I'm having to deal with? I'm not an actor or undercover agent, but I feel like I'm just putting on a mask when I go to work, at the school, or to participate in church. Life coach advice, fake it till you make it, would fit. But what if I'm not interested in fixing the fake it part? Can I just compartmentalize this persona and keep my sanity? I feel like I'm liking my job even less these days. I need help. Fucking you in the face. Atheist rookie teacher at a Catholic school. Pronouns are he and him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
I lived a version of this. So I taught for 8 years at a very religious Pentecostal school.
Ooh,
For those uninitiated, this is the, speaking in tongues and rolling in the aisles.
Yeah.
And that was this school. And I taught there, and I didn't grow up that way. I grew up Baptist, so pretty reserved.
I remember the women couldn't wear makeup, couldn't cut their hair, and had to wear dresses.
Okay, that's more of a fundamentalist approach.
Okay.
These folks were modern. They were just excessive.
Oh, okay,
just big. Just a lot of big stuff.
Yeah, the Southern Pentecostals are hardcore. That's a hardcore group.
Yeah, they weren't quite in that lane. But it was also a very politically conservative church that was very loud about that. And during this era of my life, I was discovering my progressive liberal, feelings. Yeah. And that was a really tough thing because the curriculum was Abeka, which is like the most conservative Christian shit you'll ever find. Like it is brewed in the deep South.
Heard of this, yeah.
And so like I was teaching history and there's like things in there about how Ronald Reagan was God's gift. Wow. And like, just like really excessive shit that was like, liberal policies want to kill babies. And like this was in the textbook that I was teaching like 7th graders. And it was really weird because I had to be like, not correcting that or teaching the kids any differently.
Right.
Or like kids would ask me about like speaking in tongues and like using spiritual gifts and how to like heal people in faith. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know what to say about this because, like, I don't align with that. That's not my teachings. But, like, I also have to be really careful not to accidentally say anything that's not cool.
And now, when you were doing this, did the higher-ups, did your bosses know that you were not with their faith lineup?
Or politicals.
Completely.
It came out.
Okay.
So I flew under the radar for a couple of years. They knew that I had come from a Baptist background, but they were cool with it because they'd asked me about, like, is this a problem? And I was like, I don't care. I'm not the guy who's going to shit on your ideology. I don't care. I'm really chill. And they were like, all right, cool. But the political thing they were really serious about. And, like, I flew under the radar for a while until I wrote a book. So not popular, known on the, it was pre-Dad Advice. So I wrote a book that was like about politics, and it was about how I had come from like
this a book that only like ants could read.
Right. Yeah, an ant book. Yeah.
You made one for fathers later.
That's
this
right.
One was just for like aunts and uncles.
So the gimmick was I had gone to Liberty University. I was raised inside of the most culturally conservative version of Christianity, and yet somehow that thinking accidentally led me backwards into a more liberal interpretation of good moral policy. Mm-hmm. And so I found that interesting, and most folks that I shared that with found that really compelling. And so I was approached by some folks that said, hey, we think you should write about this. I was like, great. And so I wrote a book basically going over different policies like immigration, abortion, environmentalism, and explaining, here's how I use conservative Christian math to land on a politically liberal point of view.
Okay.
Unironically. Mm-hmm. And like still considered myself conservatively Christian, not conservative politically, but conservative theologically, and was landing on this politically liberal thing. So I wrote this book anonymously, and there was a teacher at the school who caught wind of it and fucking stalked me, found it, and then exposed me to the principal, and they had like a fucking witch trial. Where like they all like pulled me into this office. I was in my mid-20s, like, and they were like, it was this whole fucking thing. And I was living a double life similar to the writer. So I feel for the writer, not an easy thing to do.
Well, and I think as teachers or professors, that is probably more common than we think. Like I'm thinking back to going to a Baptist college and being in the psychology department. I definitely looked at least two specific professors, and I look back and I'm like, were they Christian? Like, I think they were. It was in Arkansas. So you're like, even if you're not hardcore Christian teaching at a Christian school, you're still going to have some, you're going to be like socially Christian. I don't know.
You're
like
going
some
to church
level
a
of
couple times a month. And
right. you have to present a certain way. Otherwise you're just outcast.
Well, a lot
like
of them
you said.
require you to go to chapel, or whatever. Like you're going to the service.
That was us once a week. You had to go as a student. So if your professors aren't going or rejecting some of that, then that's a big freaking deal.
Right.
So I do remember wondering that. They could never say, oh, I'm not a Christian. That would never come out of their mouths.
Right.
But you're definitely like, are you or
There's
aren't you? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and it gets really tricky. Like, I remember in that school, I taught a variety of subjects, but like I was comfortable with evolution. But the school policy was evolution is a lie created by the liberal agenda to deceive you that there is no God.
Yeah.
Right. And like I was very comfortable with the concept of evolution. It didn't bother my faith. It didn't, worry me at all. And then sometimes like the church, the churchy school would do these excessive religious things. Like there was a time when there was a girl in the school that was gay, and it came out that she was gay. And they exposed her in the chapel and like did a whole like focus on this kid and shame this kid and pray it out of her and call out the demon possession.
Make an
example.
And
that was fucking weird because we're in the modern goddamn era. I'm an adult. This is a child. I don't think we can do this. Like I feel like legally this is not okay for y'all to do. And so there were definitely these pinch points.
I just like to reiterate that we think indoctrination is bad.
Yeah.
Except for some things that we don't mind indoctrination.
It was weird. So I relate to the writer because I remember feeling like, man.
So what'd you do?
Or
did they kick you out?
He prayed that gay away.
Ultimately, I was
besides
fired.
That, was obvious.
Ultimately, I was fired. And it's interesting because one of the longtime supporters of our show is a student of mine from back in that day.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's great. He actually became a pastor, and like he's out there doing ministry and stuff. And like, he always was really great with me and stuff. And I was always really delicate to be like, hey, look, I'm not here to persuade you one way or the other. But he was one of the few students
just take your shirt off. Yeah,
that's right. That invited me to be authentic. And I was, somewhat authentic with him. So shout out to you, Brady. You're a good guy. But yeah, I mean, so ultimately, time went on, and I was ultimately fired, and it was because I had voted for Obama, and so it had come out that I had voted for Obama, and it was really tough because they were like out there banging the drums about Obama being the Antichrist and like blah blah blah, and it was tough because we were a majority,
and it turns out he was.
Yeah, it turns out he was. Yeah, the world did end. Right. The rapture happened,
and now egg is on your face.
I was left behind, and so now I'm with you assholes.
This isn't a bad rapture.
I fucked up. Didn't read my revelation correctly. Yeah. So no, I ultimately was let go. And so writer, I really feel for you because that double life is exhausting, tiptoeing around it. And like I felt a lot like the writer did. I was not antagonistic to most of what the school was teaching. They were teaching prayer and worship and goodness. And I was like, great. And they were like, let's go serve in a soup kitchen and let's witness to people by being kind. And I was like, fucking yeah, let's go. Like, let's do good work. Like, this is great.
Do you think, do both of you think that this job for the writer, I'm getting a political phone call right now, apparently.
Answer
election happened.
It might be Trump.
Yeah. Don?
Jacob, I need you.
Yeah. Your vote counts bigly.
Bigly.
Huge.
But do you think that this job is sustainable for the writer long term?
It wasn't for me. And it was tough because I needed the money.
Yeah.
And, I needed that job importantly in my life. And I stayed, and I was also, I liked it, and I was good with the kids, and I had a role in the community, and I was, it was good, but it was really tough because long term, I mean, it was unsustainable because
Did they let you wear a big
discovered.
hat?
Yeah, if they would have, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Then that, of course, if you get to dress up, that's half of the battle.
Exactly.
So for me, it wasn't sustainable, and so it's hard to give that advice, writer, because I did live under the radar, I did live double lives. The church required that we all attended church, but they did not require which church. So I was able to just go to my own little typical church that was near my community, and we were cool. So I didn't have some of those conflicts. It is so weird that the writer's wife is converting to Catholicism.
That's a lot.
And the writer is the sponsor. Is like the mentor into the church. That's awesome.
I know. I don't. Am I the only one confused about that?
Am I the only one that would use it to make my wife have sex with me? Because I feel like that's the obvious move,
you
right?
have to make your wife have sex with
There's
you?
a lot you don't understand about Catholicism. Let me teach it to you in bed. I feel like that's part. I mean, obviously, you twist scripture to seduce your wife.
You can't spell Catholicism without the D.
Wait. Yeah, I would be her deacon. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's, I don't know how long you can go doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're not your authentic self.
Well, the writer talks about this idea of like fake it till you make it, but saying like, look, it hurts to fake it.
And that's not what he wants to do.
But I can appreciate the writer saying, I'm cool with compartmentalizing it in that I don't need to get out there and express my authentic self.
Right.
And I don't mind going with the crowd. If it's like, hey, we're all going to pray now. Great. That's fine. Hey, we're all going to go attend this church. And to me, I think if I were an atheist, I feel like I would do better attending Catholic church versus another type of church because it's so ritualized that it's just like we're doing these motions.
I've gone to a couple of Catholic and Episcopal, but like kind of leaning Catholic Episcopal
high church
services.
Yeah.
Funerals is what I've been to in the last number of years. And it doesn't bother me at all.
So because it's pretty ritualized, it just feels
I don't know. Like I guess I've only been to those. I haven't been to like a fire and brimstone type
But you
church
grew
service.
up Catholic, didn't you?
No, I grew up in a Methodist church.
Oh, Methodist.
But
Okay.
a lot of Catholics around.
Okay. So you weren't,
Louisiana
you weren't
is,
raised in the high church rituals.
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
All right.
No, our church was very easygoing and easy to get. It was a get along type of thing.
See, and you are,
which is not the case anymore.
In the atheist podcasting community, you are a member and in good standing. Comedy podcast that is out there about it.
Yep.
But what's interesting is I feel like you could absolutely coexist in a world that was like I think
our show is not
church once called you to talk about like audio engineering.
Yeah,
and you were like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. That's fine. I don't care. Whatever.
I didn't do it because they didn't want to pay very much.
Yeah, which is the one thing that Jacob Smith will not stand for.
Yeah,
I don't care what you do with your crazy ass religion, as long as your money's green.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we're a church, so most people kind of volunteer. I was like, yep, not me.
You called the wrong number.
Yeah. I'm not in the volunteering business.
Yeah.
But no, I've been to a few of those. Maybe it is just because it's so ritualized.
Yeah.
And things are said in church services and everything, and I kind of go like, well, I don't buy that. I don't believe that. I think that's kind of silly. Whatever it is that I think about it. But I keep that shit to myself. I'm not there to be rude.
So you could probably get along for a while. You could probably just compartmentalize.
I don't know about all this though.
Yeah,
this is a lot. And like teaching
the religion class
I don't know how you teach religion if you don't believe in the religion.
I
You
successfully
teach like the history of a religion, but teaching like active religion.
So I ended up teaching the religion class, which obviously I was in a very different position, but I didn't mind it because I was able to like academically teach it. I didn't mind saying, this is what Pentecostals believe, this is what Catholics believe, this is what Methodists believe, because I was just explaining.
And that's it. You can teach from that angle,
right?
I don't. It sounds to me like that's not the angle that the writer is coming from.
Tough.
There's a little extra intel at the bottom I was reading through.
Okay.
And it looks like the writer said that they're learning how to teach things like music or gym or health that are outside of like core subjects to maybe avoid, I think, a lot of religion talk.
Oh, there you go.
So
that would be great.
That's one thing. They also said that there's like a long commute and things like that. So
there's a lot of challenges with the job.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the wife is also an educator and is drawn to the Catholic school system in this case, wherever this person lives. It might even not be America.
Yeah.
Right.
But it sounds like because they have more resources, like it's better finance, it's a better program for education.
Stable, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the case. That's the case where I was growing up.
Yeah.
The Catholic schools had a lot more money than the public schools.
Which is Vegas-y too. The private Catholic schools are the big, name brands.
Oh, yeah.
They're national headlines. They have tons of money.
Yeah.
So, and if you're and that's part of it, is like if you're part of the Catholic Church, you get a more likely position in that school.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, my opinion is why not still look a little bit at other job opportunities. Probably there won't be any. Teaching sucks kind of right now is what I hear.
Yeah.
But just keep your head on the swivel still. See if there's anything else that jumps out at you.
Yeah. I like the adaptations.
As far as just kind of your own sanity with it goes, I mean, I guess be as true to yourself as you can be.
Yeah.
If it won't cost you your job, talk to your superiors. I assume there's a priest or a nun or something like that that's running things. And again, if it won't cost you your job, maybe speak with them about some of these concerns that you're having.
Yeah.
Coming from the viewpoint of, I'm dedicated. I like teaching here. I'm dedicated to the children here. I'm not trying to cause trouble here, but I am having a hard time. Doing this part of my job. And you may feel like that'll just cost you your job.
Well, and
you might not be able to have that conversation.
There's a lane here we're not talking about, and it seems like the obvious one.
I don't know what.
Embrace the faith.
I knew.
Just become Catholic.
Well, I was wondering
Catholic.
how long until that happens. Like, that's how it works,
for
right?
it.
You're just like trickled in
Fuck
enough.
it. Just go. Just do it. Worst case, you go to heaven.
You just walk in one day like chewing on a finger.
Yeah.
And when somebody's like, "What are you doing?" You're like, I did not understand how transubstantiation
I'm sorry.
works.
There's so many question marks about this. I don't
This is
Hocus
very
Corpus
confusing.
Meum. I'm not sure.
I thought this was going to change into bread at some point.
I think you just go
Where's
all
the
in.
wine?
You take the Catholicism classes, you fully convert into the church, you drink the wine, you eat the host, and then you know what? You do the sacraments, you do the last confessions, okay? You get all that shit out, which is good for you, right? Cathartic release, get that shit out, do your Hail Marys, do your Our Fathers, pray the little beads, and then, you get a great job, good benefits, better relationship with your wife, happy students, maybe you go to heaven, maybe it's a crock of shit. But you know what? You had a better deal here on earth, too. I mean, look, if religions are offering to pay you to hang out with them, I think there's a strong argument to just embrace the shit. If you don't believe in it anyway, fuck them. Just, get out there, believe it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Is this offending you guys?
Not buying it.
I'm on the high ground
I feel
here.
yucky about that.
It just sounds weird.
This is kind of Pascal's wagering this shit. It's fine.
I mean, it's an option. You're right. It is an option, but
There's
maybe not
a
the best
price.
one.
What is your price to convert? I feel like, you know what? If there was money on the line
To convert?
Jacob did mention money earlier.
in name only,
Like, I just have to show up?
you have to participate. You have to do this religion actively and
don't know.
appear to be a member of it.
Figure out an hourly rate.
What you believe in your heart is not my business.
All right.
But you're drinking the fucking wine, you're eating the host, you're doing
I have to go to the
confession.
church luncheon and everything.
Yeah, and participate in the potluck. Bring the things you like to
I
make.
mean, I do like a good church potluck.
There's nothing wrong with a church
Yeah.
potluck or a fish fry.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's one thing Nevada does not have.
Well, that brings up another fact that a lot of people that are not involved in any type of like collective religion, they feel like they are missing out on community.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
the writer shares that a little bit too. Like teachers end up being friends with other teachers. So you're
Right.
already involved with
Right.
all those people anyway. So
Yeah.
it feels like, why not convert, or, we're already headed down that path.
Yeah. One thing that worked for me, Ryder, was that I was able to say, look, I'm part of the same general branch of Christianity, like I'm in the Protestant wing, but here's my suburb. And they were tolerant of that, and then I didn't have to live inauthentically. And I
Yeah.
wonder if there's a way to find within the broader branches of Catholicism a zone that is sort of like, we like good works, we're doing nice things, we like tradition,
Yeah.
but we're open-minded to like the finality of the theology. Sometimes you'll find something like that, like as a place you can park and say, I kind of identify as this flavor of Catholic.
Hopefully.
Maybe that's an option.
Yeah, do some research, find that flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Hopefully something we said helped.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a tough one.
It is a tough one,
Yeah.
Ryder. I mean, living a double life is always going to be a question of sustainability. I
Yeah.
don't know if you're going to be able to do it forever.
Yeah.
You mentioned in the extra information that the anxiety is kind of creeping up, that you're talking to a therapist about it. I really want you to lean in on that work. I mean, that is huge for you, because if you realize this is starting to, cut away from my mental health, I'm struggling now, then there is no price, right? There is no amount of correctness in your life
I
that's
agree.
worth your mental health.
There's still a price.
There's always a price. Again, Jesus said this. He said, "What good is it to gain the whole world and lose your soul?"
Yeah.
And the answer is, you gain the whole fucking world.
Right.
You said it right there.
That's something.
Sounds
The
great.
price was in the title.
not nothing.
There's a number. There is a number.
Yeah.
So all the tea in China.
Also, Ryder, if you have the chance to become a cardinal,
Oh yeah.
you should do that. I hear
Do
that's
that.
a good gig.
Yeah, I just got back from Rome, and
Yeah.
Archbishop.
Yes.
Be a cardinal. If
know-
they're like, hey, you want this red robe? Be like, yep, I sure
Yeah.
do.
Stay in the lane. Maybe one day you get, your pope.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, all right.
Totally.
Bring
Fast
the
track to
reforms
pope.
you want to see. Shit. If they made me president of the Republicans, I could do some good in the world.
All right.
Even if I was like lying about being a Republican the whole time, like I could probably make some good changes. So
Totes.
run for pope.
Yeah, there you go.
We're going to take a break, and then we're going to end the show. This is an abbreviated show. We're doing
Yeah.
our best. Nick's not here to supervise us.
Sorry, Nick.
You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Nick's not here. We're not doing as many questions. The
Yeah.
computers are fucking up.
I'm
I'm winging all the
Hey.
Thera producers.
I think Nick started this computer
I think
thing
so.
somehow.
Our show's brought to you by Thera producers. There's a lot of them.
There are
I'll read
some.
their
Yeah,
names
there
at the
are.
end.
Yeah.
I love them all. They
Yeah.
are good people. They're beautiful people.
All
This
right,
break
hit us with
is
the questions that we won't get.
These are the ones that are Jacob oriented.
Okay.
Here we go. So you, Whitney, would get first dibs to answer
Okay.
first. If you go blind, you get two.
Okay.
Which type of whiskey must, by law, be made in Tennessee and go through a special charcoal filtering process known as the Lincoln County process?
Oh, I think I know this. Is it not just Tennessee?
Do you want to go?
whiskey? Or I'll get.
Wait. Are you? That's your final answer? I believe that is your final
Yes.
answer. Jacob, what is? Do you want to go
Tennessee
blind or do you
whiskey.
want options?
I think it's just Tennessee mash whiskey.
The correct answer is Tennessee whiskey.
Okay.
All
I
right.
was like, I think it's just
The
Tennessee,
fact
but
that you
said
just
that.
landed on it is like, yeah, no, you're done.
Yeah, like, shh.
Let me pull the e-brake.
Final answer, great.
We're stopping right
Yes.
there.
There
We're
aren't that
giving you
many
one.
legal Tennessee whiskeys either.
Wow.
Oh, what? Well, that
Like-
might be another question.
Yeah.
What are they?
Maybe.
Jack Daniels is the one that you've heard of.
Okay.
And then there are a few others.
Okay.
Question number 2.
Yay.
Which type of whiskey is known for having a distinct smoky flavor, often achieved by drying malted barley over peat fires?
I mean, is
Scotch.
this just Scotch?
Scotch is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whitney,
look at
holy
me.
shit.
There you go.
Jacob and I both
That's
switched.
right.
We knew
That's
this was
right.
gonna
Oh, I am so impressed with you. Like, I was legitimately impressed with Jacob. I'm more impressed with this. I don't know any of this shit. This is very impressive. All right,
It's only
number
'cause of
3.
Peter.
Let's see if Whitney can just go for it.
Yeah.
Which American whiskey must contain at least 51% corn in its mash bill, be aged in new charred oak barrels, and can be produced anywhere in the United States? You can take options if you want.
I guess I'll do options for this.
Do you want to go
round.
blind, Jacob, or do you want options?
I think I want options. I think I know it, but we'll go options.
A gentleman. He's just being
That's
a
it.
gentleman.
Thank you.
Your options are rye whiskey,
Oh.
Tennessee whiskey, bourbon, or Canadian whiskey.
Will you repeat the question?
Yes. Which American whiskey must contain 51% corn and be aged in charred oak barrels, but may be produced anywhere in the U.S.? Rye, Tennessee, bourbon, or Canadian?
I'm guessing.
Now, Canadian should be off your list.
Yeah, I was like, I'm guessing.
It's like Canadian whiskey, I don't believe can be produced anywhere in the U.S.
And also can be produced anywhere in the U.S. probably eliminates Tennessee whiskey, which an earlier question referenced must be made in Tennessee.
I was torn between rye and bourbon, but I'm like, rye wasn't mentioned in there, so I guess bourbon?
She goes with bourbon. What's it going to be, Jacob?
I'm going to go with rye.
Rye, shit. That was my first
According to ChatGPT, bourbon was the correct
Bourbon
answer.
has to be made in the bourbon region.
I don't fucking know. It says
That's
bourbon.
a good point,
Are you
actually.
claiming that an AI can make a mistake? You're calling shenanigans?
Ooh, let's Google
Because I
it.
don't think all that other stuff has to do with rye whiskey, but that's the only one of the list that can be produced
in
anywhere.
Bourbon County or whatever, the bourbon way.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think
We'll let Discord decide.
that's
I mean,
right.
bourbon, like they
Let
do
the
make a
people
lot
vote.
of what they do now is they do the same thing that champagne does, and
it's a
they
region.
make it all over the place. But like bourbon, it's the bourbon region.
Okay.
Yeah, outside of Kentucky.
Interesting. All
I mean, you can make the same stuff anywhere.
Oh, it says bourbon can be made outside of Kentucky. Yeah, maybe they're doing a champagne
I
thing.
think so.
Yeah.
All right.
Because before it'd be like Champagne is the only one from Champagne, France.
Exactly,
or
the
whatever.
Champagne region of
The
France.
rest
That's
is
right.
sparkling wine.
Champagne.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm okay with that though,
All right, good. So then
Yes.
Whitney wins.
because I was a little confused about the rye thing. Anyway,
I know. I was like, but rye wasn't mentioned anywhere.
Yeah.
So by default, I went
That's it.
bourbon. But,
All right. So looks like Whitney takes the game. Congratulations.
It's a whole new world.
It's a whole new
world.
What movie?
Lion King.
Aladdin, but they were in the same year or two.
Showgirls.
So. Showgirls. Disney's Showgirls.
Gladiator.
Yeah. Striptease, starring Demi Moore. As we wrap up the show, we want to remind you can go to patreon.com/therapy. You can get our extended show ad-free a day earlier, as well as enjoy our live chat Discord community, our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants. And right now, we've got 2 series going on. We've got Nick's Better Know a Theraproducer series, where he interviews theraproducers and asks them questions about themselves. And you also get to hear why they support the show and what draws them into our community. And then we've got another series going with our intern, Emma. And Emma's doing a Therapy 101 series. And as of this recording, we have 3 in the queue. And the second installment is how to set goals in therapy and getting into the weeds of that, how that is done and why that is important. And then her third installment, I think, has to do with getting into techniques and interventions. So really exciting stuff. Patreon.com/therapy.
Awesome.
And we do have a new supporter or 2 as we are reading this. And again, we're recording a little bit out of order. So we're recording this as of November 5th. So if you've started supporting the show after November 5th, I may have missed it. But I am now scrolling through my emails because somewhere in here is the email from Patreon telling me who the new supporter is. Yep.
Or you could just finish up the show.
I'm just going to finish up the show.
Yeah.
It's somebody. They seemed nice. I don't know. But most importantly, we have this whole new level of giving that we've had to literally name the Theraparamore. And so very special reflective thanks to the Dark Lord himself, Jim's Fascia. And Dark Lord, I honestly don't get the Jim's Fascia bit. And I even went into a secret channel in our Discord that is just filled with moderators and was like, what am I missing? What is the Jim's Fascia thing? Somebody explain the joke. And they too were like, honestly, bro, I do not know the reference. So you may have to educate us so that we can get that. There was one more person who is now sponsoring the show, and it is, I got it. John Karavatas is also now a new Therapod.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John, for supporting the show. And of course, we want to thank our Therapartners, the benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro-therapy diehards who love you all so much they give till it hurts, Dirty B and Pickett. And we want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Theraproducers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Myra, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard fucking Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley Slapping Your Face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, Mike Helm, Paris, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpy Kaye Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, Hannah Marie, Andrew Langmead, Emma Kane, Alina, Cody DeLorean Guy, and Sam Cohn.
And if you want to do things, you should
Hear
do
this
them.
episode uncut.
You want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at www.podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys podtherapyguys@gmail.com.
You're on the wrong part of the script.
Or by clicking the link in the episode description to be taken
Don't
to our
interrupt, don't
anonymous
interrupt.
Google form.
Just hit the fucking music. I got you.
We especially want to thank our bosses, the series
No,
of
that was me. I already did that.
If you would like to hear this episode uncut and unedited and
Why
enjoy our
wouldn't you?
spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. I want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. I'm pissed off at how much fell apart without Nick. I don't want that to be true. I want him to realize how irrelevant
It's because it's
he
election
is.
day.
That's
We're going to
what
blame it on
let's,
that.
Let's blame it on that.
It's like a full moon.
Anyway,
I
tag
feel
us
like I
on the
usually hold
socials.
things together a little better than I did today, too.
Well, tech issues happen.
issues,
It is what it
yeah.
is. Anyway, if you want to submit a question to our show, you can ask anonymously at podtherapy.net. You can email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Or if you just open this episode's description, there's a link. Go to our anonymous Google form, drop your question there. Anyway, I'm Jim.
I'm Whitney.
I'm Nick. Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Well, he nailed that one. Very good.
And I'm Sam the Eagle.
America. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Go fuck yourself.
This is Nick Tangeman.